Have you ever wondered why some people seem to command attention the moment they open their mouths, while others struggle, stumble, or get ignored? Picture yourself standing before an audience. Maybe it's a small group of colleagues, maybe it's a room full of strangers. Your heart is racing, your palms are sweaty, yet you know that if you could just speak clearly and confidently, you could make an unforgettable impact. Now, imagine the opposite. Imagine walking up to that stage or standing in that meeting room with calmness in your chest. You smile, open your mouth, and your words flow with ease. People lean in, they nod, they connect with you. By the time you're finished, they not only understand you, they respect you, they remember you, and they feel inspired by what you've said. Wouldn't that be a powerful skill to have?
This is the promise of effective speaking. And that is exactly what this book is about. The quick and easy way to effective speaking, based on the legendary teachings of Dale Carnegie, is not just a guide about words. It's a map for personal transformation. It is about discovering the voice within you, shaping it with clarity, and using it to connect with others in a way that opens doors, builds relationships, and changes lives.
Introduction. For many of us, the fear of speaking in public is very real. Surveys often rank it as one of the greatest fears, even greater than the fear of death. But think about it. How many opportunities have been lost? How many promotions passed by? How many relationships left unformed simply because someone could not express themselves when it mattered most? This book is here to change that story. What you hold in your ears is not just another self-help audiobook. It is a training ground, a step-by-step journey. Dale Carnegie's wisdom has already transformed millions of lives around the world. And in this modern presentation, his timeless lessons are shaped to give you practical, simple, and easy-to-apply tools for real life.
You will learn how to build confidence in your voice. You'll discover how to prepare your mind and your material so you can walk into any situation ready. You'll understand how to organize your thoughts in a way that captures attention. And most importantly, you will learn how to speak from the heart. Because genuine communication is not about impressing people with fancy words, but about moving people with honest ideas. Why is this book still relevant today, decades after Dale Carnegie first began teaching his methods? The answer is simple. Technology may have changed, but people haven't. Whether you are speaking face-to-face, presenting on a video call, or addressing thousands online, the fundamentals of effective communication remain the same. People still crave clarity. They still respond to enthusiasm. They still want to feel understood and inspired.
This book will show you how to do that. And here's the best part. It doesn't require years of training or a natural gift. Effective speaking is not about talent. It's about practice, method, and mindset. If you can follow these steps, if you are willing to prepare and apply these lessons, you too can become a confident and persuasive speaker. Think of the doors this could open for you: a promotion at work, more respect from your peers, the ability to inspire your children, the courage to share your story, the skill to stand up and be heard in a world full of noise. Effective speaking is not just a professional asset, it is a life skill. And once you develop it, you carry it with you forever.
So as you listen to this audiobook, I want you to treat it like a workshop, not just a book. Take notes, pause and reflect, practice the exercises, visualize yourself applying the ideas. Every time you speak, no matter how small the situation, consider it a rehearsal for the bigger moments. Step by step, lesson by lesson, your voice will grow stronger, your confidence will rise, and your ability to connect with others will expand. In the chapters that follow, we will explore the foundations of speaking with impact. We will uncover the hidden fears that hold people back and replace them with habits that build courage. We will study the art of preparation, how to craft your thoughts so they come out sharp, clear, and memorable. We will look at how to bring energy, enthusiasm, and authenticity into every word you speak. And finally, we will explore how to move people emotionally. Because facts may inform, but feelings inspire action.
If you have ever felt nervous about speaking, if you have ever wished you could be more persuasive, if you have ever dreamed of standing up with confidence and winning the attention of your audience, this is your moment. This book was written for you. By the end of this journey, you won't just know how to speak effectively. You will know how to speak in a way that changes how people see you, how they respond to you, and how they remember you. Are you ready? Let's begin.
Chapter 1. Finding Courage to Speak. Every great speaker you admire today was once a beginner. They too felt their knees shake, their voices tremble, their minds race. It may be hard to imagine that the people who inspire millions once stood in the shadows of self-doubt, but that is the truth. The difference between them and those who never found their voice is simple. They faced their fear, practiced, and grew stronger each time. Let us begin with the most important truth about speaking. Courage comes before confidence. You cannot wait until you feel perfectly ready, perfectly talented, perfectly trained, because that day will never come. Confidence is not a gift that arrives before you act. Confidence is the result of action. You must speak first, even if your heart pounds, even if your mouth feels dry. Only then does courage slowly harden into confidence.
Imagine this. You are in a small group at work. The manager asks for suggestions. You have an idea, but your throat tightens. In a few seconds, someone else speaks, and the moment is gone. You feel regret. Later that night, you think, if only I had said something. Sound familiar? Now picture a different scene. The same situation, the same idea in your mind. This time you take a breath, you raise your voice, and you share it. Maybe your words are not perfect, but people listen. The manager nods. The team discusses your suggestion. You feel a spark of pride. That spark is the beginning of confidence, and it only comes when you dare to speak. This book will guide you through many methods to prepare and improve, but here, at the beginning, the key lesson is this. Start speaking now, wherever you are, with whatever opportunities you have. Do not wait for the perfect stage. Do not wait until you feel ready. Begin with small steps. Say something in a meeting. Ask a question in class. Tell a story at dinner. Volunteer to present a report. Each time you do, you are building invisible muscles.
Dale Carnegie often reminded his students that public speaking is not learned by reading about it. It is learned by doing it. A child does not learn to walk by studying a manual. They wobble, stumble, and fall until walking becomes natural. Speaking is the same. You will stumble. You may forget a word, mispronounce something, lose your place, but none of that matters. The only failure is silence. Every attempt, no matter how rough, is progress. Think of some of history's greatest voices: Abraham Lincoln, Winston Churchill, Martin Luther King Jr. None of them were born with golden tongues. Lincoln was mocked for his awkwardness. Churchill struggled with a speech impediment. Yet both became powerful communicators because they practiced endlessly. They faced fear, they pushed forward, and they discovered that courage grows with use. So how do you begin building courage in your own life? Here are 3 powerful steps. Step 1. Reframe fear. Fear is not a signal to stop. Fear is a signal that you are growing. When your hands sweat and your heart races, tell yourself, this is energy, not weakness. This means I care. This means I am alive. Change the story you tell yourself about fear, and suddenly it becomes fuel. Step 2. Start small. Don't wait for a giant stage. Begin where you are. Speak up in conversations. Share your opinion in a group of friends. Volunteer to explain something in class or at work. Every time you open your mouth, you are practicing. And practice is what turns shaky voices into strong ones.
Step 3. Repeat often. Like exercise, courage grows with repetition. The more you speak, the less fear controls you. Over time, the nervous energy becomes excitement. The trembling fades. What once felt terrifying becomes almost natural. Let me share a story. A young man once joined one of Dale Carnegie's speaking courses. On the first day, he was so nervous that he could hardly introduce himself. His words stumbled out, his face burned red, and he wanted to disappear. But instead of quitting, he kept returning. Every week, he stood up, sometimes for just 30 seconds, sometimes for a minute. Slowly, his voice steadied. By the end of the course, he was speaking for 5 minutes straight, holding the attention of his classmates. What changed? Not his intelligence, not his vocabulary. What changed was his courage, strengthened by repeated action.
Now, let's look at a principle that can save you from endless worry. Your audience is not your enemy. Many people fear speaking because they imagine the audience as a wall of judgmental faces. In reality, most people in your audience want you to succeed. They want to be entertained, informed, inspired. They are rooting for you, not against you. Remember this, your listeners are on your side. Here's an exercise. The next time you're about to speak and you feel your nerves rising, look at 1 or 2 friendly faces in the crowd. Focus on them. Pretend you are speaking just to those people, as if it's a personal conversation. Suddenly, the sea of faces becomes less intimidating. You will relax, and your words will flow more naturally.
Another tip, never aim for perfection. Perfection is an illusion that traps many speakers. Instead, aim for connection. People don't remember every word you say. They remember how you made them feel. Speak with sincerity, and your message will land. You may ask, but what if I fail? What if I forget my lines? The truth is, even experienced speakers sometimes lose their place or miss a point. What matters is how you recover. If you forget something, smile, take a breath, and continue. Most audiences will not even notice, and even if they do, they will respect your calmness more than flawless delivery.
One of the quickest ways to grow courage is to prepare well. Nervousness often comes from not knowing what you want to say. If you have a clear outline, if you've rehearsed your points, your mind will feel anchored. Preparation builds security, but do not confuse preparation with memorization. A speech should not be a script recited word for word. It should be a living conversation. Know your main points, know your stories, and then speak them naturally. Let us pause for a moment and imagine the future. Picture yourself 6 months from now. You have followed these steps. You have spoken in small groups. You have taken chances. You have practiced again and again. Now, you are standing in front of an audience of 50 people. You feel nervous, yes, but it is a healthy nervousness. You take a breath, you begin, and your words flow with ease. People listen. They nod. They smile. When you finish, the room applauds. That moment is within your reach.
This first step, finding courage, is the foundation for everything else we will explore. Without courage, no technique or strategy will matter. With courage, even imperfect words can inspire.
Remember, you don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start to be great. So, from this moment forward, commit to speaking. Wherever you are, whatever chances you get, open your mouth and share your thoughts. Each time you do, you are not just practicing speaking, you are building the courage that will shape your future. And that is how the journey begins.
Chapter 2: The Art of Making People Listen. Think back to a time when someone spoke and you felt glued to every word. Maybe it was a teacher who made history come alive. Maybe it was a friend telling a story that had you laughing until your stomach hurt. Or maybe it was a leader whose words stirred something deep within you. What made you listen so intently? It wasn't just the subject. It was the way the words were delivered, the energy, the connection, the clarity. Now, let's be honest. We have all also sat through speeches or meetings where our minds wandered after the first few minutes. The speaker droned on, the sentences dragged, and though words were spoken, nothing landed. You found yourself checking your watch, glancing at your phone, or silently begging for it to end.
The truth is, people today are drowning in information, but starving for attention. If you want to stand out, if you want your message to stick, you need to learn not just how to speak, but how to make people listen. And that is both an art and a science. So what makes people listen? 3 qualities above all: clarity, energy, and sincerity. 1. Speak with clarity. Nothing loses an audience faster than confusion. When your thoughts are scattered, when your sentences ramble without direction, listeners switch off. To hold attention, you must be clear about your point. Think of clarity as a light cutting through fog. Before you speak, ask yourself, what is the one thing I want my audience to remember? Build everything around that central idea. If you try to say 10 things at once, you will say nothing. But if you say one thing with power, it will stick.
For example, imagine you're giving a talk about teamwork. You could bombard your listeners with statistics, rules, and definitions. Or you could focus on one core truth. Teamwork is not about dividing tasks, it's about multiplying strengths. With that single, clear line, you anchor your whole talk. 2. Bring energy into your voice. Words alone do not capture attention. Energy does. A lifeless voice kills even the best ideas, but a voice full of life, rhythm, and variation keeps people hooked. Here's a simple truth. Your voice is an instrument, and like any instrument, it must be played with feeling. High and low, fast and slow, soft and strong. If you speak in a flat tone, people tune out. If you bring energy, people lean in. Try this. Record yourself reading a paragraph in your usual tone. Then read it again with twice the energy, as if you were telling an exciting story to a child. You'll notice the difference immediately. The second version has color, movement, and life. That's the voice you want to bring when you speak to others. 3. Sincerity moves hearts. Audiences may forgive mistakes in grammar, pauses, even nervous stumbles, but they will not forgive a lack of sincerity. People can sense when a speaker is authentic, and they can sense when someone is faking it. Think of a conversation with a friend who shares something personal. Even if their words are imperfect, you feel their sincerity, and it touches you. In the same way, your audience cares less about polish and more about whether you truly believe what you are saying. So, when you speak, don't aim to impress, aim to connect. Speak from your own experiences. Share what matters to you.
Your authenticity will hold their attention far more than rehearsed lines. Let's bring these three together with a story. A young woman once joined a Carnegie speaking class. She was intelligent, but when she spoke, she buried her ideas in long, complex sentences. People struggled to follow. Over time, she learned to simplify her language, to bring energy to her voice, and to speak from her heart. By the end of the course, her talks were short, clear, and powerful. Listeners leaned forward. They laughed. They nodded. They applauded. She hadn't changed her knowledge. She had changed her delivery, and that made all the difference.
Techniques to capture attention. Beyond clarity, energy, and sincerity, there are practical techniques you can use to draw listeners in. Start with a hook. Begin with a question, a startling fact, or a vivid image. The first 30 seconds decide whether people listen or drift away. For example, instead of saying, "Today I'll talk about time management," start with, "If you had just 24 hours left to live, how would you spend them?" Instantly, people are curious.
Tell stories. Humans are wired for stories. We remember characters, struggles, and resolutions far more than abstract points. Whenever possible, wrap your message in a story. A well-told story can hold attention longer than any chart or statistic. Paint pictures with words. Use vivid, descriptive language. Instead of saying, "The weather was bad," say, "The rain hammered the windows as the wind howled like a restless beast." The more you can make listeners see, hear, and feel, the more engaged they will be. Vary your pace. Speed up when you're excited. Slow down when you want people to reflect. Pause before an important point. Silence, used wisely, is as powerful as words. Engage the audience. Ask questions, even rhetorical ones. Say, "Have you ever felt this way?" Or, "Can you picture this?" These little invitations pull people into your talk. The trap of trying too hard. Now, a warning. Many speakers, eager to hold attention, try too hard. They exaggerate, they act unnaturally, they put on a performance that feels fake. This backfires. Instead of listening, the audience feels uncomfortable. Remember this, your goal is not to perform, but to connect. You don't need to shout, wave your arms wildly, or fill your talk with complicated words. Speak simply, with energy and authenticity. That is enough.
Practice the listening test. Here is a simple exercise to test yourself. Record a 2-minute talk about something you care about. Then listen back and ask, was my main point clear? Did my voice have energy, or did it sound flat? Did I sound sincere, or did it sound forced? If the answer to all three is yes, you are on the right track. If not, adjust and try again. Imagine the impact. Now imagine walking into a room to give a short presentation. People are chatting, half paying attention. You begin with a strong question. Heads turn. You tell a short, vivid story. Eyes focus. You share your message with clarity, energy, and sincerity. People nod. They smile. They listen. By the time you finish, the atmosphere in the room has shifted. People not only heard you, they felt you. That is the power of effective speaking. That is the art of making people listen. And you can do it. Every time you speak, practice these principles. Don't just deliver words, deliver meaning. Don't just speak to be heard, speak to be remembered. Step by step, you'll find your voice growing stronger, your presence more magnetic, and your impact deeper. This is the second step of your journey, learning the art of making people listen.
With courage from the first chapter and these techniques for holding attention, you are building a foundation that will carry you into every conversation, every meeting, every stage. You now have the tools. Use them and watch how people begin to not just hear your words, but to truly listen.
Chapter 3. Shaping your message with clarity and impact. When most people speak, they make a common mistake. They start talking before they know exactly what they want to say. Words spill out in circles, points overlap, and the listener is left wondering, what was that all about? If you've ever left a meeting feeling drained after someone spoke for 10 minutes without saying much, you know how frustrating it can be. But think about the opposite experience. Think about the person who speaks for just a few minutes, yet their message lingers in your mind long after. Their words are simple, but their meaning is sharp, like an arrow hitting its mark. That's the power of shaping your message, and it's a skill you can develop. Effective speaking is not about saying a lot. It's about saying the right thing in the right way. A clear, well-shaped message has impact far beyond its length. In fact, some of the most memorable speeches in history were surprisingly short. Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address lasted only about 2 minutes. Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech, one of the most famous ever delivered, was under 20 minutes. Clarity and impact matter more than time. So, how do we shape a message that cuts through noise and truly resonates? There are 3 keys: knowing your purpose, organizing your ideas, and making your points unforgettable.
Step 1. Know your purpose. Before you even think about the words you'll say, pause and ask yourself, why am I speaking? Every talk, no matter how short, has a purpose. Maybe your goal is to inform, to share knowledge. Maybe your goal is to persuade, to change minds. Maybe your goal is to inspire, to stir emotion and action. If you don't know your purpose, your words will wander. But if your purpose is crystal clear, your words will follow with power. For example, let's say you are asked to give a 5-minute talk about a new project at work. If your purpose is unclear, you might rattle off random details. But if your purpose is clear, say to persuade your team that the project is worth pursuing, then every word you choose, every example you give, will support that purpose. Purpose is the compass that guides your message.
Step 2. Organize your ideas. Once you know your purpose, the next step is to organize your ideas. This doesn't mean memorizing a script word for word. Instead, it means structuring your talk so it flows logically and is easy for the listener to follow. The human mind loves order. If your talk is jumbled, people get lost. But if your talk has a clear structure, people stay with you. One of the simplest and most powerful structures is this. 1. Tell them what you're going to say. 2. Say it. 3. Tell them what you just said. It sounds almost too simple, but it works because it creates clarity and reinforcement. Let's say your talk is about healthy habits. You might begin with, today I want to share 3 habits that can transform your energy and focus. That's the preview. Then you explain each habit one by one. Finally, you close with, so remember, just 3 habits, sleep, movement, and mindful eating, can completely change your daily performance. That's the summary. The audience now has a roadmap. They know what to expect, they hear the content, and then they're reminded of the key points at the end. Simple, clear, effective. Step 3. Make it unforgettable. Clarity gets your message across. Impact makes it stay. If you want your words to live in people's minds, you need to make them stick. How? By using tools like stories, examples, metaphors, and repetition. Stories are the heartbeat of impact. They turn abstract ideas into something human. If you're teaching about perseverance, tell a story of a time you or someone else refused to quit, and what happened. Stories engage emotions, and emotions make messages memorable. Examples provide anchors. If you're explaining a concept, give a real-world example that listeners can picture. Instead of saying, "Effective communication builds trust," say, "Think of the last time a leader admitted a mistake openly. You probably trusted them more, not less."
Metaphors create bridges. They connect the unfamiliar to the familiar. For instance, you might say, "Speaking without preparation is like walking into a storm without an umbrella. You might survive, but you'll be miserable." Instantly, people understand. Repetition reinforces memory. Key lines said once may be forgotten, but key lines repeated with rhythm sink deep. Think of Martin Luther King Jr.'s repeated phrase, "I have a dream." Repetition carved it into history. Avoiding the common pitfalls. Shaping your message also means avoiding the traps that weaken it. Here are a few.
Too much information. If you overload people with facts, they retain little. Choose the essentials. Less is more. Complicated language. Big words do not make you sound smarter. They often create distance. Use simple, strong words that anyone can grasp. Wandering. Stay focused. Each sentence should move toward your purpose. If it doesn't, cut it. Overstuffed slides or notes. If you use visuals, keep them clean and supportive. Don't let them bury your message. Remember, the goal is not to show how much you know. The goal is to ensure people understand, remember, and feel your message.
A real-life example. Let's put this into a story. A young executive was asked to give a talk at her company's annual meeting. She'd prepared pages of notes filled with data and complicated explanations. The first time she rehearsed, her audience looked lost. She realized her message was buried under too much detail. So she stripped it down. She identified her purpose, to show how her project could save the company money. She organized her talk into 3 main points. She added a story about a customer who benefited from the project. And she repeated her key line, "This project doesn't just save costs, it creates possibilities." When she delivered the talk, people understood her clearly. The audience applauded, and the leadership team approved her proposal. What made the difference? Not her intelligence, she always had that. It was the clarity and impact of her shaped message. Practice. The 3-minute test. Here's a practical exercise. Choose a simple topic, something like why reading matters or why walking is good for health. Give yourself 3 minutes. 1. Write down your purpose. 2. Organize your talk into a beginning, middle, and end. 3. Add 1 story, 1 example, and 1 memorable line. Then deliver it aloud. Time yourself. Record it. Notice how much stronger your words sound when shaped with purpose, structure, and impact.
Imagine your future talks. Picture yourself at your next opportunity to speak, whether it's in a meeting, a classroom, or a larger event. Instead of rambling, you begin with a clear purpose. Your words flow in order. You use a story that makes people smile or nod. You repeat your key line with confidence. The audience leaves not only having heard you, but remembering you. Your message lingers in their minds. And that is the true test of effective speaking, not just to be heard, but to be remembered. Bringing it all together. Shaping your message is about respect, for your audience and for yourself. Respect for the audience because you value their time and attention enough to prepare something clear and meaningful. Respect for yourself because you honor your own ideas enough to express them in the best way possible.
As you continue on this journey, remember these 3 keys. Always know your purpose. Always organize your ideas. Always shape your points with tools that make them unforgettable. With these, you will not only deliver words, you will deliver impact. And that is how your voice begins to change the world, one message at a time.
Chapter 4: Winning Hearts with Stories and Emotion. If facts were enough to move people, the world would be a very different place. We all know we should eat healthier, save money, exercise, and communicate better. The information is there. Yet information alone rarely inspires change. What truly moves people is not cold logic, it is emotion. And the most powerful way to stir emotion is through stories. Think back to a speech that touched you deeply. Chances are it wasn't just a list of facts, it was a story. Perhaps it was a tale of someone overcoming hardship. Perhaps it was a vision of a better future. Or maybe it was a personal memory shared with honesty. Whatever the case, it wasn't the numbers or the arguments that stayed with you, it was the human connection.
Great speakers understand this truth. If you want to win minds, use logic. If you want to win hearts, tell stories. And when you win hearts, minds often follow. Why stories matter. From the beginning of human history, stories have been our way of making sense of the world. Long before people wrote laws or scientific theories, they told stories around fires. Stories taught lessons, shared traditions, and united communities. Our brains are wired for them. Modern research confirms this. When we hear a story, not only does the language part of our brain light up, but so do the sensory and emotional centers. We don't just hear stories, we experience them. That is why stories are so memorable and persuasive. Think about it. If I give you a list of 10 random facts, you'll forget most of them within an hour. But if I tell you a story about one person's struggle and triumph, you'll remember it for years. Stories transform information into feeling, and feeling is what leads to action. The ingredients of a great story. Now, you may be thinking, but I'm not a natural storyteller. The good news is you don't need to be. Storytelling is not about talent, it's about structure. Any story, told simply, can hold attention if it contains these ingredients. 1. A relatable character, someone the audience can see themselves in. This could be you, a friend, a colleague, or even a historical figure. 2. A challenge or conflict. Stories without struggle are boring. The character must face an obstacle, a difficulty, or a decision. 3. A turning point. The moment when something changes, when the challenge is faced head-on. 4. A resolution. The outcome, whether success, failure, or a lesson learned. 5. A message. The reason you told the story, the truth or principle it illustrates. For example, suppose you're giving a talk on persistence. You could quote statistics about perseverance, or you could tell the story of Thomas Edison, who failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. The character is Edison, the challenge is repeated failure, the turning point is his discovery, the resolution is the invention, and the message is that persistence pays. Personal stories build trust. While historical and famous stories are useful, the most powerful stories are often personal ones. Why?
Because personal stories show vulnerability. They prove you are human, not just a voice delivering information. Imagine two speakers. One says, "Courage is important. You should all be courageous." The other says, "I remember the first time I had to speak in front of my classmates. My knees shook, my voice cracked, and I wanted to run away. But I stayed, and slowly I found my courage." Which one connects more? The second, because it is real. When you share your own stories, your struggles, your mistakes, your lessons, you invite the audience into your world. And when they see your humanity, they trust your message.
The role of emotion. Facts inform, but emotions inspire. To touch hearts, you must stir feelings. But how? Use vivid language. Instead of saying, "He was sad," say, "He sat silently in the corner, eyes downcast, as if the weight of the world pressed on his shoulders." Slow down. Give space for emotion to sink in. Silence after a powerful sentence allows listeners to reflect. Show, don't just tell. Rather than saying, "The family was poor," describe the worn-out shoes, the empty pantry, the child's longing glance at a bakery window. Relive the moment. When you tell a story, feel it again. Let your voice carry the excitement, the fear, the joy. Listeners will feel it with you. Emotion does not mean drama or exaggeration. It means sincerity. If you feel nothing, your audience will feel nothing. But if you truly relive the moment, they will too.
Practical ways to use stories in speaking. Begin with a story. Instead of opening with abstract points, grab attention immediately with a human moment. Support your points with stories. Every principle you share can be anchored in an example. End with a story. Close with a memorable image or tale that reinforces your message.
Avoiding the pitfalls of storytelling. Not all stories are effective. Some can weaken your talk if not handled well. Watch out for these pitfalls. Too long. Audiences lose interest if the story drags. Keep it focused. Unclear point. If the message isn't obvious, people may wonder why you told it. Overused cliches. Stories that everyone has heard many times lose power. Make it fresh or personal. Irrelevant detail. Include only details that add to the emotion or the message. Cut the rest. A story that changed the world. Let's take an example from history. In 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. stood before thousands in Washington, D.C. His "I Have a Dream" speech is remembered as one of the greatest in history. What made it so powerful? It was not statistics about inequality. It was the vision, the story of a future where children of all races could join hands. He painted pictures with words. He spoke of valleys lifted up, crooked places made straight, justice rolling down like waters. He told a story of hope, a dream that touched hearts then and still does today. That is the power of stories and emotion. The Story Journal. Here's an exercise. Start keeping a journal of personal stories. Every day, write down one small event that taught you something, an interaction with a friend, a challenge at work, a lesson from family. Over time, you'll build a collection of stories you can draw upon in your talks. Then, practice telling them aloud. Focus on the core message. Notice where to pause, where to add detail, where to let emotion rise. The more you practice, the more natural storytelling will become.
Imagine your speaking future. Picture yourself giving a talk a year from now. You are no longer just presenting facts. You are telling stories. Your audience laughs at one story, wipes a tear at another, leans forward with anticipation at a third. They are not just listening,
They are experiencing your words. When you finish, they don't just remember your points, they remember your stories. And because of that, they remember you.
Bringing it together. To win hearts with stories and emotion, use relatable characters and real struggles. Speak with vivid language and sincerity. Keep stories focused and purposeful. Let your emotion guide your voice. With these tools, you transform from a speaker who informs to a speaker who inspires. You move beyond logic into the realm of connection. And in that space, you have the power not just to share ideas, but to change lives.
Chapter 5. Confidence. The quiet power that transforms speaking. What separates a nervous, hesitant speaker from one who commands a room? It is not vocabulary. It is not memorization. It is not even the complexity of ideas. The difference is confidence. Confidence is the invisible thread that binds your words, your gestures, and your presence into one powerful force. But here's the truth. Most people are not born confident. They build it, step by step, brick by brick. And in this chapter, we will explore how you too can build unshakable confidence in speaking, not by faking it, not by pretending, but by developing the real skills that create trust in yourself.
The myth of natural confidence. Many people look at great speakers and think they are just naturals. But if you look deeper, you'll find that even the best struggled once. Winston Churchill, remembered for his powerful speeches during World War II, once froze during a talk and sat down in humiliation. Dale Carnegie himself admitted that, as a boy, he was shy and self-conscious. Confidence is not a gift some people are born with. It is a muscle. And like any muscle, it grows with use. You may begin shaky, but with each step, each attempt, each small success, your confidence strengthens. The foundation of confidence. Preparation. If there is one golden key to confidence, it is preparation. Nothing calms nerves like being ready. When you know your subject deeply, when you have practiced your words, when you have rehearsed your delivery, fear shrinks.
Think of an actor stepping on stage. They may feel nervous, but they are not lost because they have rehearsed their lines again and again. In the same way, when you prepare, you replace uncertainty with clarity. But preparation is not just memorization. It means understanding your subject so well that you can explain it simply. Organizing your ideas into a clear flow. Anticipating questions and objections. Practicing until you can deliver naturally without clinging to notes. When you prepare, you honor your audience. You show them that their time matters. And in return, they reward you with attention and respect.
Small steps, the path to real confidence. Confidence grows in layers, not leaps. You do not go from trembling to fearless overnight. Instead, you build gradually. Begin with small talks, perhaps a story shared with friends, a short report at work, a few sentences in a meeting. Each success adds a brick to your foundation. Think of it as climbing stairs. Each step may feel small, but together they take you to new heights. The more you speak, the less intimidating it feels. What once made your voice shake will one day feel natural. Reframing nervousness. Here's an important truth. Almost everyone feels nervous before speaking, even experienced speakers. The difference is how they interpret that nervousness. Some see it as fear. I'm nervous, so I must be weak. others reframe it as energy. I'm excited. My body is getting ready. My heart is beating faster to help me perform. That shift in perspective can change everything. Instead of resisting your nerves, channel them. Let that adrenaline give your voice strength, your gestures life, your words urgency. Nervousness, when reframed, becomes fuel. The role of practice. Preparation lays the foundation. Practice builds the structure. The more you practice, the more your words become part of you. You no longer rely on memory. You rely on familiarity.
Here are some powerful ways to practice. Speak aloud. Reading silently is not enough. Say your words. Hear them. Feel their rhythm. Record yourself. Play it back. Notice your tone, your pauses, your clarity. Rehearse in front of friends. Even a small audience helps you adapt to real reactions. Simulate the moment. Stand as if you were on stage. Gesture. Project your voice. Imagine the real scene. Practice until the fear of forgetting fades, until your words feel natural. That is when confidence takes root. The confidence of authenticity. Many speakers lose confidence because they try to be someone they are not. They imitate others, put on a mask, or force a style that does not fit. But true confidence is born of authenticity. When you speak as yourself, you remove the pressure of pretending. You do not need to impress by being someone else. You impress by being genuine. Speak in your natural voice. Use your own stories. Express your real beliefs. People trust authenticity more than perfection. Building confidence in body and voice. Confidence is not only in the mind, it is in the body. How you stand, how you breathe, how you project your voice all affect how you feel. Posture. Stand tall, feet firm, shoulders relaxed. A strong stance sends signals of confidence, not just to the audience, but to yourself. Breathing. Nervous speakers often breathe shallowly, which makes their voice weak. Practice deep breathing. Inhale fully, exhale slowly. This calms the body and strengthens the voice.
Eye contact. Look at your listeners, not the floor or the ceiling. Eye contact creates connection and quiets fear. Gestures. Let your hands move naturally. Avoid fidgeting. Use gestures to underline your points, not distract from them. Confidence in body language creates confidence in mind. It is a two-way street. Act confident, and you will feel more confident. The confidence that comes from service. Here is a profound shift that builds deep confidence. Stop focusing on yourself. Focus on your audience. Fear often comes from self-centeredness. What if I fail? What if they laugh at me? What if I forget my words? But when your heart is set on serving others, fear loses its grip.
Ask yourself, how can I help my listeners? What value can I give them? How can my words make their lives better? When your mission is service, you stop worrying about perfection. You become a messenger, not a performer. And messengers filled with purpose radiate natural confidence. A story of confidence gained. Let me share an example. A young woman once joined a public speaking course. On her first day, she could barely introduce herself. Her voice quivered, her face turned red, her words stumbled. But she didn't give up. Week by week, she spoke a little more. First, she told a 1-minute story. Then she gave a short talk about her hobby. Later, she led a small group discussion. Each time she prepared, she practiced, she learned.
By the end of the course, she delivered a 10-minute speech with poise and clarity. Her audience listened intently. She had built her confidence step by step. She didn't transform overnight. She built it, like a craftsman building a strong house. Her story proves confidence is not magic, it is method. And if she could build it, so can you. Exercises for building confidence. Here are practical exercises you can begin today. 1. Daily speaking. Speak for 2 minutes on any topic, out loud, to yourself, every day.
2. Mirror practice. Stand before a mirror and deliver a short talk. Notice your posture, gestures, and expression. 3. Record and review. Record a short speech, then play it back. Focus on one thing to improve each time. 4. Join a group. Look for opportunities, a speaking class, a book club, a discussion group. Practice in front of real people. 5. Affirm your purpose. Before speaking, remind yourself, I am here to share, to help, to serve. Confidence grows fastest with regular use. The more you speak, the stronger it becomes. Imagine the confident you. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine yourself walking to the front of a room. You stand tall, calm, steady. You look at your audience with warmth. You open your mouth and your words flow with clarity. People nod, smile, lean forward to listen.
This confident version of you is not a dream. It is a future reality waiting to be built. Each day you prepare, each time you practice, each small step you take, it brings you closer. Bringing it together. Confidence is not something you either have or don't have. It is something you build. You build it through preparation, practice, authenticity, and service. You build it by taking small steps, reframing nervousness, and standing tall in both body and spirit. And when confidence becomes part of you, everything changes. Your words gain weight. Your presence gains power. Your message gains life. Confidence is not loud, not boastful, not arrogant. True confidence is quiet strength. It is the calm assurance that you are ready, that you are enough, and that your words matter.
Chapter 6. The Art of Clarity. Saying less, meaning more. Have you ever sat through a talk where the speaker used so many words that you couldn't remember a single one? Maybe they rambled, added too many details, or circled the same idea again and again. You walked away not enlightened, but exhausted. Now think about another moment when someone said just a few words, but they cut straight to your heart. A short story, a single sentence, a simple phrase that stayed with you for days. That is the power of clarity and simplicity in speaking. Clarity is not about using fancy words or packing in as much information as possible. It is about making sure your message shines so brightly that nothing clouds it. It is about saying less so that every word means more.
Why clarity matters. When you speak, your audience is not only listening, they are processing, interpreting, and connecting your words to their own experiences. If you overwhelm them with complexity, they lose the thread. But if you guide them with clarity, they follow eagerly. Clarity matters because people remember simple ideas. Complicated explanations fade quickly, but clear messages stick. Clarity builds trust. When you explain something simply, people believe you understand it well. Simplicity inspires action. If your listeners can't grasp what you want them to do, they won't do it. Albert Einstein once said, "If you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough." The same applies to speaking. Simplicity is not a weakness, it is mastery.
Cutting through the noise. Modern life is noisy. People are bombarded with messages,
ads, news, conversations, notifications. Attention is short. To stand out, your words must be sharp, clear, and free of clutter. Imagine your message as a diamond. If it is buried in mud, no one sees its beauty. Your job is to wash away the mud of unnecessary words, complicated jargon, and distracting details until the diamond shines on its own. Common enemies of clarity. 1. Overloading with facts. More data doesn't always mean more impact. Choose what matters most. 2. Long, winding sentences. Break them down. Short sentences are easier to digest. 3. Unnecessary jargon. Speak in everyday language. If you must use technical terms, explain them. 4. Repetition without purpose. Repeating for emphasis works. Repeating without direction confuses. 5. Trying to say everything. A good talk doesn't cover everything. It focuses on the essential.
The power of simple language. Think of the greatest speeches in history. They were not filled with complicated terms. They were simple, human, clear. Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address was only about 2 minutes long, yet it is remembered more than 150 years later. Why? Because it was concise, heartfelt, and direct. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "I have a dream," not "I envision a future social structure in which individuals of various demographic categories coexist harmoniously." Simplicity gives power. When you speak, choose words that a child can understand, because if a child can understand, everyone can.
Focusing on one big idea. Every great talk has one central idea. Not 3, not 10, not 20, just one. If your audience remembers only one thing, what should it be? That is your big idea. Think of your talk as a tree. The trunk is your main idea. The branches are supporting points. The leaves are details. If you focus on the leaves, your audience will never see the tree. But if you give them the trunk first, the branches and leaves will make sense. Before you write or rehearse a speech, ask yourself, what is the one message I want my audience to remember? Build everything else around it. Structure creates clarity. Clarity is not only in words, it is in structure. If your ideas are scattered, your audience will be lost. Organize your talk like a journey.
A clear beginning. Introduce your main idea. Spark curiosity. A purposeful middle. Develop your points step by step. Use stories, examples, and evidence. A strong end. Summarize and leave your audience with a clear takeaway. Think of yourself as a guide leading your listeners through a forest. If you keep to the path, they feel safe and engaged. If you wander aimlessly, they get lost and tune out. The art of pausing. Clarity is not only about what you say, but also about what you don't say. Pauses are powerful. They give your audience time to absorb your message. A pause after an important sentence lets it sink in. A pause before a key idea builds anticipation. A pause when you feel nervous can save you from filling silence with clutter. Silence is not your enemy. Used wisely, it is your ally. Storytelling with clarity. Stories are powerful, as we saw in the last chapter, but even stories must be told with clarity. A story with too many side plots, too much detail, or no clear ending confuses instead of inspires.
When telling a story, focus on the main character and their challenge. Include only details that matter to the message. Move steadily toward the lesson or turning point.
and with a clear connection to your talk's theme. Clarity in storytelling keeps the audience emotionally engaged and intellectually satisfied. Exercises to sharpen clarity. The 1-minute test. Take any topic and explain it in 1 minute. If you can't, simplify further. The child test. Explain your point as if you were talking to a child. If they wouldn't understand, make it clearer. Record and review. Notice where you ramble. Edit yourself. Cut by half. Write a 2-page speech, then cut it to 1 page, then to half a page. Notice how clarity grows as words shrink.
A story of transformation through simplicity. A businessman once gave a long presentation to his team, filled with charts, numbers, and graphs. But when he finished, no one remembered his point. Frustrated, he went to a speaking coach. The coach asked, "What's the single message you want them to leave with?" He thought for a moment, then said that if we don't adapt now, our company will be left behind. The coach replied, "Then cut everything else. Make that your talk." At his next meeting, the businessman stood before his team and said only this: "If we don't adapt now, we'll be left behind. But if we adapt together, we can lead." He told one story to illustrate the point. The team remembered. They acted. That is the power of clarity. Imagine your speaking future. Imagine giving a speech where every sentence flows smoothly. Your audience nods, smiles, and follows along without confusion. When you finish, they can repeat your main idea in their own words. They don't just hear your talk, they understand it.
That is the future you can create by mastering clarity. Bringing it together. To speak with clarity, choose simple human language. Focus on one central idea. Organize your talk with a clear structure. Use pauses to highlight meaning. Cut away clutter and keep only what matters. Remember, less is more. Words are powerful not because of how many you use, but because of how clearly they convey truth. When your words are clear, your message is remembered. When your message is remembered, your speech has power.
Chapter 7. The Secret Weapon: Persuasion and Influence. Words alone can inform. Stories alone can inspire. But when words and stories are combined with the art of persuasion, they can transform lives. Persuasion is not manipulation. It is not trickery. Persuasion is the ability to present ideas so clearly, so compellingly, that people see truth for themselves and choose to act. Think about the moments in history when a single speech shifted the course of events. Leaders have persuaded nations to unite, citizens to rise, and ordinary people to attempt the extraordinary. Behind all of this was not force, but influence, spoken with conviction. Now ask yourself, when you speak, do you merely share information, or do you inspire action? Do you just fill time, or do you move people toward change? In this chapter, we'll explore how to build the skill that turns words into power, the skill of persuasion. Persuasion versus manipulation. Let's be clear, persuasion is rooted in honesty. It is about presenting truth in a way that resonates with people's needs, hopes, and values. Manipulation, on the other hand, twists truth for selfish ends. A persuasive speaker asks, "How can this help my audience?" A manipulator asks, "How can this help me, even at their cost?" To be truly effective, persuasion must always be guided by integrity. When people sense your sincerity, they open their hearts. When they sense hidden motives, they close them.
The foundation of persuasion. Credibility. Before people listen to your words, they judge you. Do you seem trustworthy? Do you appear to know what you're talking about? Do you genuinely care about them? Credibility comes from three things. 1. Character. Are you sincere? Do your actions match your words? 2. Competence. Do you understand your subject deeply? Have you done your homework? 3. Connection. Do you care about your audience, and do they feel it? Without credibility, persuasion fails before it begins. With credibility, your words carry weight.
The 3 pillars of persuasion. For centuries, scholars have studied what makes a message persuasive. Aristotle described 3 pillars: logos, pathos, and ethos. They remain just as powerful today. Logos. Logic. Your message must make sense. Facts, reasoning, and structure matter. Pathos. Emotion. People are not robots. They act when their feelings are touched. Stories, imagery, and passion awaken the heart. Ethos. Character. Your integrity and trustworthiness color everything you say. The most persuasive talks blend all 3. Logic gives strength. Emotion gives energy. Character gives credibility. Remove one, and persuasion weakens. Understanding your audience. Persuasion is not about what you want to say. It is about what your audience needs to hear. Before you speak, ask, what does my audience care about? What are their fears, hopes, and concerns? What objections might they have? How can my message connect with their world? The most persuasive speakers step into the shoes of their listeners. They see through their eyes, feel with their hearts, and then speak to those needs. Crafting a persuasive message. A persuasive talk is like a bridge. One side is where your audience is now. The other side is where you want them to go. Your job is to build a clear, sturdy path across. Here's a simple structure. 1. Start with the problem. Describe the current situation in vivid detail. Make your audience feel why change is needed. 2. Present the vision. Show the better future. Paint it so clearly they can see it. 3. Give reasons. Support with logic, evidence, and examples. 4. Address doubts. Anticipate objections and answer them calmly. 5. Call to action. Tell them clearly what to do next. This structure works because it takes people on a journey from awareness to desire, from desire to action. The power of stories in persuasion. We've already explored the importance of storytelling, but in persuasion, stories are not just decoration. They are engines of belief.
A well-told story does what statistics cannot. It makes people feel the reality of your message. A story of one struggling child can do more to stir action than a report about thousands. Why? Because we connect to individuals more than to numbers. When persuading, weave stories that embody your message. Make the audience see, hear, and feel the impact. Let them imagine themselves in the story. That is when persuasion becomes irresistible. Language that moves people. Persuasive language is clear, emotional, and direct. Consider these tools. Repetition. Key phrases repeated become unforgettable. I have a dream. Contrast. Show what will happen if nothing changes versus what can happen if it does. Imagery. Use words that create mental pictures. Questions. Ask, what kind of future do we want? And let the silence pull them in. Strong endings. Finish with the sentence that lingers in their minds. Overcoming resistance. Not everyone will agree with you immediately. Some will resist. That is natural. To overcome resistance, acknowledge concerns. Don't dismiss them. Respect them. Find common ground. Show that you share their values or goals. Use stories and evidence. Let both the heart and mind be convinced. Stay calm. Anger closes doors. Patience opens them. Remember, persuasion is not a battle to be won. It is a conversation to be continued.
A story of persuasion in action. During the 1980s, a young woman campaigned to raise awareness about drunk driving. She had lost her child to a tragic accident caused by a drunk driver. At first, people dismissed her efforts, but she kept speaking, not with anger, but with compassion. She told her story over and over. Her sincerity touched hearts. Communities listened. Laws began to change. Eventually, her movement, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, MAD, became a national force, saving countless lives. Her power was not statistics, though she had them. Her power was persuasion, built on truth, character, and a story that no one could ignore. Exercises to build persuasion skills. 1. Practice the problem, vision, action model. Take a small topic and frame it persuasively. 2. Test your message. Share it with a friend and ask, did it move you? Why or why not? 3. Collect persuasive stories. Keep a journal of stories that illustrate important truths. 4. Rehearse objections. Write down possible challenges to your message and practice calm answers. 5. End every talk with a call to action. Whether big or small, always give your audience a next step.
Imagine yourself as a persuasive speaker. As you speak, you sense the room shifting. Eyes widen, heads nod, people lean forward. They are not only listening, they are believing. They are not only believing, they are preparing to act. When you finish, the air feels charged. Conversations begin, decisions are made, lives start to change. That is the quiet but profound power of persuasion. Bringing it together. To persuade effectively, ground yourself in integrity and credibility. Blend logic, emotion, and character. Step into your audience's world. Build your message like a bridge from problem to action. Tell stories that embody truth. Speak with language that stirs hearts. Respect resistance and answer with patience. Persuasion is not about winning arguments. It is about awakening possibilities. It is about showing people not just what is, but what could be. And when you master this secret weapon, your words will do more than fill the air. They will change it. Chapter 8. Speaking to inspire, leaving a lasting impact. A speech is not measured only by the applause it receives at the end. True greatness is measured by what happens after the applause fades. Did your words stay with your listeners? Did they remember them the next morning, the next week, the next year? Did your message inspire action, change habits, or spark new hope? This chapter is about reaching beyond the moment, about learning to inspire in a way that lingers, influences, and transforms. Anyone can deliver information, but to inspire, that is the work of a leader, a teacher, a visionary. The difference between informing and inspiring. To inform is to fill the mind. To inspire is to ignite the spirit. Both matter, but inspiration has deeper roots.
Think about your own life.
How many lectures filled with facts do you remember? Probably very few. But how many moments of inspiration shaped your choices? A teacher's encouragement, a mentor's words of belief, a leader's call to courage. These live inside you long after the moment passed. The greatest speakers don't just inform, they inspire. They give people more than knowledge. They give them belief, energy, and direction. The seeds of inspiration. Inspiration grows when three elements come together. 1. Truth. People sense when words are real and grounded. 2. Passion. Inspiration flows when you care deeply. 3. Vision. Inspiration points toward a better future that people can imagine. Truth, passion, and vision. Combine these, and your words can plant seeds that grow into action.
Painting pictures of possibility. To inspire, you must help people see what does not yet exist. You must paint pictures of possibility. Instead of saying, we need to work harder, inspire with vision. Imagine a workplace where each of us contributes our best, where our efforts lift not just ourselves but one another, where we achieve more together than we ever dreamed alone. Visionary language awakens hope. It makes the future feel not just possible, but within reach. Speaking with passion. Passion cannot be faked. If you don't feel strongly about your message, neither will your audience. Inspiration comes from sincerity, from the fire in your own heart. But passion does not always mean shouting or being dramatic. Sometimes it is quiet intensity. Sometimes it is the tremor in your voice when you share a personal truth. Passion has many forms, but it always has one thing in common. It is real.
Inspiring through stories. We've seen the role of stories in connecting and persuading, but stories also inspire. Think of the story of Helen Keller, blind and deaf from childhood, who learned to communicate and went on to inspire millions. Her story does not just inform, it awakens courage. Stories of resilience, kindness, discovery, and triumph remind people of their own potential. They whisper, if they could do it, so can you. That is inspiration at work. The power of example. Your life itself can inspire. People are moved not only by what you say, but by who you are. A speaker who practices what they preach has far greater impact than one whose words are empty. If you speak of courage but live in fear, your words ring hollow. But if you speak of perseverance and your life reflects it, your words carry authority. The best way to inspire is not only to speak inspiration, but to be it.
Repetition that builds resolve. Inspiration often comes from hearing an idea again and again until it becomes part of us. That is why great speakers use repetition. Martin Luther King Jr. repeated, "I have a dream," not once, but many times. Each repetition built momentum, energy, and resolve. When you want to inspire, find a phrase that captures your vision. Repeat it with rhythm and conviction. Let it echo in the minds of your listeners long after you leave the stage. Speaking to the heart, not just the mind. Facts may convince, but inspiration comes from touching the heart. Inspiration is born when you speak to people's deepest values, their love for family, their hope for the future, their desire for meaning, their yearning for dignity. Speak not only to what people know, but to what they feel and believe. Connect your message to the timeless human longing for growth, connection, and contribution.
A story of inspiration that lasted. In 1961, President John F. Kennedy stood before the American people and said, "We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. At that moment, no one knew how such a goal could be achieved. The technology didn't exist. The challenge was enormous. Yet his words inspired a nation. They lit a fire of innovation and determination. 8 years later, Neil Armstrong stepped on the moon. That speech did not simply inform, it inspired action that changed history. How to leave a lasting impact? To ensure your words last beyond the moment. 1. Be clear on your message. Inspiration fades if the point is lost. 2. Connect to universal values. Speak to what all people share: hope, love, courage, justice. 3. Create memorable lines. Short, striking phrases are easier to remember. 4. Appeal to imagination. Help people see the future you describe. 5. Call for action. Inspiration without direction fades. Give people a next step.
Exercises for inspirational speaking. 1. Vision exercise. Write down what future you want your audience to imagine. Then describe it in vivid language. 2. Passion practice. Choose a subject you care deeply about. Speak for 5 minutes, focusing only on sharing your passion. 3. Memorable phrase creation. Craft one sentence that captures your message. Repeat it aloud until it feels natural. 4. Story bank. Collect stories of courage, kindness, and transformation to use in your talks. 5. Action step. In every practice talk, end with one clear action for the audience. Imagine your impact. Picture yourself years from now. A listener approaches you and says, "I heard you speak once. Your words changed the way I thought. They gave me courage. They helped me choose a better path." That is the power of inspiration. Not applause, not fame, but lives touched, hearts lifted, and futures reshaped.
Bringing it together. To speak with lasting impact, share truth with passion, paint visions of possibility, tell stories that awaken belief, live your message as an example, use repetition, emotion, and clarity. Always connect to action. When you inspire, your words travel beyond the moment. They echo in minds and hearts. They become part of the lives of those who heard them. And in that way, you achieve what every speaker dreams of, not just to be heard, but to be remembered.
Chapter 9. The Journey Never Ends. Growing as a Speaker for Life. Every great speaker starts somewhere. For some, it's a trembling hand holding a microphone. For others, it's a nervous voice in front of a small group. But here's the truth. No one ever arrives at the peak of speaking. The art of communication is a lifelong journey. Even the world's greatest speakers continue to learn, refine, and improve. Why? Because people change, cultures shift, and new challenges arise. What inspired yesterday may not resonate tomorrow. To stay effective, you must keep growing, always. This chapter is about building a mindset of continuous growth so your influence doesn't fade, but expands across a lifetime.
Why growth matters. A speech is not just about today. It is about tomorrow and the years to come. The way you grow as a speaker shapes not just your career, but your legacy. Think of speaking as a flame. If you stop feeding it through learning, practicing, and reflecting, the flame flickers and dims. But if you keep fueling it, the flame grows brighter, casting light farther and farther. Growth ensures that your message stays relevant, powerful, and alive. The trap of comfort. One of the greatest dangers for any speaker is comfort. After a few successful talks, it's tempting to think, I've mastered this. But mastery is not a destination. It's a practice. Comfort can make you lazy. It can make you repeat the same style, the same stories, the same words, and slowly your effectiveness fades. Growth requires humility, the humility to admit that no matter how good you are, you can always be better.
A lifelong student. The most impactful speakers see themselves as lifelong students. They learn from books, from conversations, from mentors, and most importantly, from their audiences. Every audience is a teacher. Every reaction, every silence, every question is feedback. Did they lean in? Did they tune out? Did they act afterward? If you pay attention, your audience will teach you how to improve. Keep your mind open. Stay curious. Never stop asking, what can I learn next? Practicing the craft. Great speaking is like playing a musical instrument. It requires practice. Just as a pianist rehearses scales daily, a speaker must exercise their voice, timing, and delivery. Ways to keep practicing. Record yourself and listen critically. Notice tone, pace, and clarity. Join groups like Toastmasters or other speaking forums to test new ideas. Challenge yourself with different audiences, small groups, large halls, informal talks, formal speeches. Experiment with new techniques, storytelling, humor, dramatic pauses. Every practice is a step forward. Each one sharpens your skill.
Learning from others. One of the fastest ways to grow is to study great speakers. Watch their speeches, listen to their rhythm, their tone, their use of stories. Ask yourself, what made this so powerful? But don't just copy, adapt. Borrow techniques, but make them your own. Authenticity matters more than imitation. Equally, learn from bad examples. Notice what fails. Did the speaker lose the audience by talking too long? Did they use too many slides? Did they lack energy? These lessons are just as valuable. Expanding your influence. Growth as a speaker also means broadening your reach. Don't limit yourself to one type of talk or one kind of audience. Stretch yourself. If you've spoken mostly in business settings, try schools or community groups. If you're used to formal speeches, try storytelling circles or podcasts. If you've only delivered serious talks, try adding humor. Each new context sharpens different aspects of your skill. The more diverse your experiences, the stronger your influence.
Building feedback loops. Growth thrives on feedback. Without feedback, you're walking in the dark. With it, you gain clarity. After your talks, ask trusted listeners, what did you remember most? Was anything confusing or unclear? How did it make you feel? What could I do better? Don't fear criticism, embrace it. Each suggestion is a gift, helping you grow stronger. The role of reflection. Equally important is self-reflection. After every talk, ask yourself, what worked well? Where did I lose energy? Did my call to action inspire action? How could I make it better next time? Keep a journal of your speaking journey. Over time, you'll see patterns, growth, and opportunities.
The speaker's toolbox. As you grow, build a toolbox of techniques you can draw from. Stories that move people, quotes that inspire, examples from history, science, or personal life, exercises that engage audiences, delivery tools, gestures, pauses, eye contact, humor. The more tools you have, the more flexible and dynamic you become as a speaker. Staying inspired yourself. To inspire others, you must stay inspired. A speaker who has lost their spark cannot ignite anyone else. So feed your own soul. Read books that stretch your mind. Surround yourself with passionate people. Reflect on your purpose. Why do I speak? Celebrate the moments when your words made a difference. When you stay inspired, your audience feels it.
A story of lifelong growth. Winston Churchill is remembered as one of history's greatest orators. But few know that in his youth, he was awkward and struggled with speaking. Instead of giving up, he devoted himself to improvement. He studied great speeches. He practiced endlessly, sometimes rehearsing entire talks while pacing in his garden. He experimented with pauses, tones, and emphasis. Even at the height of his career, he continued refining. The result? Speeches that rallied a nation in its darkest hour. His growth never stopped, and neither did his influence.
Exercises for lifelong growth. 1. Feedback journal. After each talk, write down both your reflections and any feedback you received. 2. Monthly challenge. Set one new challenge each month. Different audience, new technique, new topic. 3. Study hour. Dedicate 1 hour a week to studying great speeches or practicing delivery. 4. Story building. Add at least one new story to your toolbox every month. 5. Gratitude reflection. Recall moments when your words made a difference to keep your purpose alive. Imagine your lifelong influence. Picture yourself decades from now. You are still speaking, still inspiring. Younger speakers look to you as an example. Audiences still lean forward when you talk. Your words have not faded, they have deepened with wisdom. This is the gift of growth. Your influence doesn't decline with age, it expands because you never stopped learning, practicing, and serving.
Bringing it together. To grow as a speaker for life, stay humble and hungry to learn. Practice continually, like a musician. Learn from both great and poor examples. Stretch yourself with new audiences and contexts. Seek feedback and reflect honestly. Keep building your toolbox of stories, techniques, and skills. Stay inspired so you can inspire others. Growth is not a stage of life, it is a way of life. And when you commit to lifelong growth, your voice will not just echo in the present, it will echo into the future, shaping lives long after you were gone. Final chapter. Your voice, your legacy. Let me ask you one final question. What will your voice leave behind? Every person who has ever lived has left something behind. Some leave behind buildings, inventions, wealth, or books. But the most enduring legacies are not material. They are words. Words that touched a heart, guided a choice, or sparked a movement. Your voice is more powerful than you think. It is not only a tool for communication, it is a force for influence. Every time you speak, you have the chance to plant seeds in the minds of others. Seeds of courage, kindness, vision, or strength. Seeds that may grow into trees long after you are gone. This final chapter is about recognizing that your speaking is not just for today's moment. It is for tomorrow's memory and for the lives that will be touched through the echo of your words. Why legacy matters. A legacy is not about fame. Most people will never know your name. But legacy is about impact. Perhaps it's the student who remembers the encouragement you gave when no one else believed in them. Perhaps it's the colleague who found strength from your words in a difficult time. Perhaps it's the child who will carry forward your wisdom into their own life. These are legacies that outlive applause. They are measured not in numbers, but in lives changed. The ripple effect of words. When you speak, your influence does not stop with the people in front of you. Words ripple outward. A teacher inspires a student. That student becomes a leader. That leader changes an organization. That organization impacts a community. And it all began with a single voice. You may never see the full impact of your words, but never doubt that your voice, used wisely, has the power to create ripples that reach far beyond what you can imagine.
What makes a legacy speech? Certain talks stay alive long after they are spoken. What gives them that enduring power? 1. Clarity. The message is simple enough to remember. 2. Truth. The words are grounded in timeless principles. 3. Emotion. They touch the heart, not just the head. 4. Action. They call people to do something beyond listening. Think of Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, just a few minutes long, yet remembered for centuries. Why? Because it was clear, true, emotional, and action-driven. Everyday legacy. You don't need a stage or a crowd to leave a legacy. Some of the most powerful words are spoken in everyday life. A parent telling a child, "I believe in you." A friend saying, "Don't give up, you're stronger than this." A leader reminding their team, "We can do this together." Legacy is built not only in great speeches, but in countless small conversations that shape lives quietly.
Living the message. Words alone are not enough. To leave a true legacy, your life must reflect your message. People may forget what you said, but they will never forget how you lived. If you want to be remembered for courage, live courageously. If you want to be remembered for kindness, live kindly. If you want to be remembered as someone who inspired growth, keep growing yourself. Your life is the stage on which your words stand. Passing the torch. A lasting legacy also means teaching others to speak. Imagine the power of not only using your own voice, but also encouraging others to use theirs. Mentor someone. Share what you've learned. Encourage the shy person to speak up. Show the next generation that their voice matters too. In doing so, your influence multiplies. Your legacy is no longer just your voice, it is the voices you helped unlock.
A story of lasting legacy. Consider Maya Angelou, the poet and speaker. Her words about courage, dignity, and humanity continue to inspire long after her passing. But her legacy is not only in her own speeches, it is in the countless people she inspired to find their own voice. Her words live on, not only because they were powerful, but because they helped others believe in their own power. That is a legacy that endures. Exercises for building your legacy. 1. Define your message. What is the one truth you want to be remembered for? Write it down in one sentence. 2. Live it daily. Align your actions with that message. 3. Share it often. Look for opportunities in everyday life to express your message through words. 4. Mentor others. Pass on your speaking skills to someone who needs encouragement. 5. Reflect often. At the end of each year, ask, what impact did my words have? Who did I encourage? Who did I inspire?
Imagine your future legacy. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine years from now, someone speaking about you. They say, "I remember their words. They gave me courage when I was afraid. They helped me believe in myself. They showed me a new way of seeing the world." That is your legacy. Not wealth, not titles, but the invisible threads of influence that run through lives because of the way you spoke and lived. Bringing it together, let's recap what we've discovered in this journey. Your voice is a tool of power and influence. Preparation, clarity,
passion, and storytelling make your words effective. Persuasion and inspiration turn information into transformation. Growth never ends. The best speakers keep learning. And ultimately, your words can become your legacy, shaping lives beyond your own. This book has not been about tricks or formulas. It has been about awakening the power already inside you, the power to speak with authenticity, to move hearts, and to leave behind something that lasts.
Your call to action. So I leave you with this challenge. Don't wait. Don't tell yourself you'll start when you feel ready. Begin now. Speak at workplace. Speak in your community. Speak at your dinner table. Speak words of encouragement, vision, and truth. The world is hungry for voices that uplift, unite, and inspire. Your voice can be one of them. Remember, speaking is not just about communication, it is about contribution. Use your voice to serve, to guide, to ignite. And in doing so, you will not only become an effective speaker, you will become a lasting influence. So here we are at the end of this journey. But really, it's not an ending. It's a beginning. Your beginning. You now hold the tools, the insights, and the inspiration to use your voice with power. The stage may be big or small, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that you step onto it. Speak with clarity. Speak with courage. Speak with heart. And may your words echo in the lives of others long after the sound is faded. This is your moment. This is your voice. This is your legacy.
Final thought. Before we close, I want to leave you with a question. If you could choose any audiobook to listen to next, one that could help you grow, inspire you, or completely change the way you think, what would it be? Take a moment and share your answer in the comments below. Your feedback not only helps me, but it also helps other listeners discover powerful ideas they may not have considered. And if this audiobook has added value to your day, if it sparked a new thought or given you even one tool to use in your life, then I invite you to support the journey by doing 3 simple things. Subscribe, like this if it gave you something useful, and share it with a friend who could benefit from hearing these lessons too. Remember, your voice matters as much as mine. Comment, engage, and let's build a community where ideas continue to grow, inspire, and spread far beyond just these words. Thank you for listening, thank you for learning, and thank you for being part of this journey. Until next time, keep speaking, keep growing, and keep inspiring.